I know a lot of people aren't here today, but just we'll work with it. All right. Let me see. Okay. Right period. Okay, go ahead. Whoever wants to start first.
Abraham Lincoln is declaring all slaves to be freed and to only use violence if it's for self-defense.
Self-defense. Yeah. And is that a cause, of course, or a consequence? Course. Tell me why it's a course.
Because that was this is when Abraham Lincoln tried to declare the slaves free, but the slave owners didn't listen. They didn't pay attention. They didn't really care.
Right. And so Abraham Lincoln was allotted during the course of the war, right? Because he was the one who kind of led the Union through it. So good job. Very great. Okay, go ahead. Whoever wants to go next.
I'll go next. Okay, he tried to drag me out of the seat.
Guys, back here.
Guys, I'm presenting.
Yes, thank you. We're not working on our boards anymore. Our boards are done. We are giving our undivided attention, okay?
2 more.
Go ahead.
Okay. He tried to drag me out of the seat, but the moment he caught hold of my arm, I fastened my teeth on the back of his hand. This is a consequence because she is a young black woman, and he is basically taking her rights away from her. So what does she do? She bites his hand. That's consequence.
Right, yeah, and it's a consequence of the Civil War because that relates back to the Reconstruction
Yeah, of
period.
course.
Right, because it happened afterwards. So good job. Okay, who else?
Me, miss.
Okay, go ahead.
Right
And
here.
then okay, what's up with oh my, I was there.
All right, that's fine. You guys will all get a turn, I promise.
Right here we have a lightning bolt reference to God because God gave them hope.
God gave them hope, so like God Almighty, you know. Yeah, okay. And that was the day during the lightning, right? Okay, all right. And how is that a consequence, though? Of the Civil War. Try to relate it back to a consequence of the Civil War. I hear you.
I guess they gave them power after the war.
Well, maybe let me redirect you. So could it be a course of the war? Because a lot in that Abraham Lincoln text, guys, over here again, in that Abraham Lincoln text, he talks about this as being a divine retribution or a holy war almost, because this is kind of God's plan. It was willed that way. So God had a plan for them, and this was during the course of that war. So it could be a course and a consequence, okay? Okay, good job. Who's next?
In the deed of the war, the Confederates lost to the Union, and slavery was, whatever, I don't know how to say it, abolished. And it's a consequence because it happened after, when they lost the war.
Right, and also because slavery was abolished, so that was a positive consequence of the Civil War. Good job. Okay, anyone? Justin, have you? Yep, go for it.
Alright, that one is a whip. It's for Frederick Douglass when he explained how he was abused by the slave owners.
Okay, and is that a course, a consequence, or a cause?
That is a course.
So yeah, it could be a little bit of
A
both.
course and a consequence.
Well, I was thinking more of
no,
a
course and cause.
cause, right?
Yeah.
Because that incites a lot of anger. Imagine being whipped for something like that, right? So yeah, it could be a cause and during the course of, because that's why they were fighting. Good job. Okay. Everyone presented?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, give them a hand. Yeah, you only have to present one of the three that you did, just to save time.
Where do we put it?
Just keep it on your desk for right now.
See how easy that was? And you wanted
Who wants to volunteer as the next tribute?
I love you.
Volunteer as the next tribute. Over there? I see a hand. Miguel volunteered you all already. Sorry. Let's go.
Miguel!
Miguel's not even here. What's the problem?
Nah, but we'll go to
Oh wait, can they step in for you?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Say no more.
You'll be next. Alright guys, remember our rules. Our undivided attention is to the presenters. Alright, you may continue.
Okay, this is called a Civil War Concept Board. I'm gonna start off with my little chain.
Yeah. So she has chains, like kind of ironclad chains, right? Okay, go ahead and explain that for us.
That is a cause.
Yeah.
Because back then they had Civil War and they had slavery and
Now, how does that reflect one of the texts before you continue on?
Douglas.
Douglas, okay. one with the lashings and stuff? Which one? Okay, oh, I see, okay, so what to the slave? So related back to that then, what was the main idea of what to the slave is 4th of July?
I would say,
I know you were absent a lot for that part, but does anyone wanna help her out? What was the main idea of the what to the slave?
That the 4th of July wasn't really for the slaves.
Right, because they were chained, they were shackled, right? So they were saying this day is not mine to have happiness in, it's yours, because you guys are free, but the South isn't. Okay, so that could be, what would you say, is that a cause, a consequence, or a course of civil war?
I put force.
Course, yeah, good job. Okay, alright, who's next?
No,
Come on guys, no, not like who's next, but up here.
I'm tripping, but hey, what's wrong with you?
Go ahead,
So,
Jose.
one of the ideas that I had was that slaves with civil rights have civil rights to a fair education, which is a consequence of the Civil War, because after that, when Reconstruction was occurring, slaves were starting to have equal rights with everybody else. And in the poem with W. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, Booker T. was saying that they should just keep their mouths shut and not exercise their civil rights, while W. Du Bois disagreed and said that they should be exercising their rights and should be and have an equal right to an education as everyone else.
Perfect. And you picked a quote or an idea that centered around that education as a what would you call that? A cause, a consequence, or a course of civil war?
I believe that was a consequence because after the Civil War, slaves were set free. Slavery was abolished, and that would be a consequence because after that they were just 4 million freed men, and I mean like people, slaves in general.
Right.
And they're wondering, okay, what do we do with 4 million people entering our society?
Yeah. Good job. Okay. Great, Jose. All right, and the last but not least, Stubborn.
I did one of the quotes where he was talking about the fiery dragon and the biting ridicule.
Oh, the biting ridicule. Okay, so sorry, what did yours say? The fiery stream, by the way. We compared it to a dragon. I wish he said dragon, but he said
Oh,
stream.
if I had the ability and I could reach the nation's ear, I would today pour out a fiery stream of biting ridicule, blasphemy.
Blasphemy? Is it blasphemy?
It says blasphemy, reproach, and bite, withering sarcasm, and stern
Rebuke. Yeah, rebuke. And is that a cause, a consequence, or a course of civil war?
That's a consequence because he wouldn't have been that angry.
Well, yeah, it
It's
could
more
also
like
be
a
what?
course.
Course, and it could be a cause too, right? Because he is saying they're not free in the South, which is why he has to go up and make this speech. So he is trying to fight for and persuade that northern white audience to believe that slaves should be free. So that's almost like leading up to or in the beginning of the Civil War. All right, good job, guys. Okay, over here. Okay.
We on the right side of the house. Be different. Let me go first. Alright, this is our concept board right here. I put unity as a cause
Okay.
because now that all the separation is over, the nation has joined together as one, and now we're stronger as a whole.
Okay, and that would be a cause, you said?
Yeah.
Could that also maybe be a consequence of the Civil War? Because what was Lincoln trying to do? Who talks about unity a lot?
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln. And what does he say about unity? About national unity?
Miss, I just remember in the lab, the elephant, together we stand.
Oh, The political cartoon.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so but what did he want? He wanted the nation to be
Unified.
unified, exactly. So you can relate that back to Abraham Lincoln and back to one of the major themes from the Lincoln Tech. And that might reflect the cause of the Civil War because the nation wasn't unified when they were practicing slavery in the South. Good job. Okay.
Mine's the one with Douglas chained up because he was a slave. I assume it's cause. So he wanted to do something about it so other slaves don't have to suffer.
And that's maybe why he gave his speech, right? So that he could stand up for those other slaves. Good job. Okay. Don't hide behind the paper. I can still see you.
Yeah, I know. Mine is a course, and it says others who maintain the right to cultivate the brain, from Booker T and W.
Okay. And why would it be a course?
Because it was before the Civil War.
So course means during, right? So like during the course of class. So why would you say that's then maybe a cause of the Civil War because they wanted the right to maintain the right to cultivate the brain? Okay, so make sure you change that, all right? Okay, Lashara. Okay, and who else? Go ahead.
Alright, so I chose a quote from Frederick Douglass as a cause because he said, "My subject then, fellow citizens, is American slavery," and that's one of the main causes of the Civil War, which was American slavery.
Perfect. Okay. Anyone else?
Speak up,
Chelsea, right?
Chelsea.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, I chose the word injustice because the slavery is wait, hold up. Okay, slavery was a set injustice.
You gotta face the class when you speak.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. So you chose injustice because it represented slavery. Okay, and is that a cause, a course, or a consequence of Civil War? A cause, right? Good job. And what author would you relate that back to? Injustice. Frederick Douglass. And what part of the text are you thinking of when you think of injustice? Like what something that he said, maybe?
We talked about this.
Anyone want to help her? Where does Frederick Douglass talk about injustice?
No, Miss, I think she got it. We talked about it.
Yeah?
Yeah, we don't need help from the
All right. Let's let Chelsea think it out. Thank you, Pierre. Pierre believes in you.
Yeah, come on.
So think about some of the references that Frederick Douglass made in What to the Slave is 4th of July. What was the main hypocrisy or injustice in that text? The 4th of July. And why was that the nation being hypocritical?
Because they're celebrating freedom when they had slaves.
Right.
Next time,
Yeah, he kind of saved you there, Chelsea. You're off the chopping block. All right, let's go. Give him a round of applause. All right. Okay, so Chambriel, poor Chambriel, does not have her other team with her today.
She can do it. I'll hold
We
it.
can thank early release for that. All right, so do you want to go, Chambriel? Do you want to wait? You'll be the last one then? Okay. All right, over here. She gets the final say since she's alone. Yeah.
The last one's the best.
Yeah, save the best for last.
Why would you say that?
About that.